Sometimes when I record these videos, I have a really good idea what I'm going to talk about. There's something on my mind, there's a phrase, there's a topic in my, like on the tip of my tongue. And sometimes, like today, there's nothing. And oftentimes what happens is, the ones where there's nothing takes me to something that's really important. So we're going to riff and we're going to see where it takes me while I do my skincare and my makeup for the day. To see where it takes me. I'm a Self Projected Projector. Hi, I'm Gail. I am the energy-led woman. These are my diaries. I try and do one most mornings so that I can use my voice, which is my superpower. And if you know your human design, whatever authority, yeah, sorry, I was kind of thinking, is it strategy? No, whatever your authority is your superpower. So if you can really tune into that and hone that, then you are really gonna kind of excel. I don't think that's the right vibe, but you know what I'm saying. So for me, that is self-projected. It's projecting what's going on for myself, I suppose. And my throat center is directly connected to my G center, which is my identity, my soul, who I know I am, that kind of thing. It's quite a set center. So that's a little bit about me. We are constantly shifting. It never stops. We're always moving, we're always growing, we're always evolving. And we find ourselves sometimes coming back to the same cycles because we either didn't learn the lesson before, or because we go deeper into it. You know, if your life is spring, summer, autumn, winter, then your first spring, summer, autumn, winter, as a plant, you might be a little bitty plant. And then your second one, you might be a bit bigger, and your third one a bit bigger, and the fifth one a bit bigger, and you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger every cycle that you go through. And I see that in the same way for us humans, is that, every cycle that we come round to, we should be like going deeper, being more successful at our lives and being more successful at being aligned to all that we truly are. And that is my vibe as an energy-led woman. What my purpose is, what my focus is on coming into alignment with myself, so much so that there's no misalignment. Life just flows, life just comes to me. That's the focus, that's where I want to be. And I do pretty well at it, to be fair. Most of the time I do have my niggles, but in general I do pretty well at it. Every piece of information around me is data, from symptoms that are happening in my body to the way I feel about something, the way I feel about anything, to the way something makes me feel. So, for example, triggers. When we say we're triggered by other people, it's become such a bad thing, oh, you're triggering me, don't you trigger me. You can only be triggered in an area with which you need to evolve. So for me, a trigger is a good thing, and it tells me a little bit more about me. It teaches me a lesson. Not a lesson, that sounds really bad. I will teach you a lesson, Gail. No, it gives me an area of growth. It brings something from my subconscious into my conscious mind that I can choose whether I want to continue feeling that way, which is clearly out of alignment, otherwise I wouldn't have been triggered, or whether I don't. It's all a choice. It's all free will. And that's what we're all here for. We're all here to grow, learn from each other, blah, blah, blah. So last week I found my voice again. It's not an again. This is where I get kind of annoyed with myself, because it isn't an again. It is a, I already know I am a self-projected projector. I already know what that means to me. I already know what that means in my life. But there are areas that I hadn't been using my voice. No, how do I explain this? So as I've just explained about, we learn more, we get in deeper, we do more, you know, every year. I've known I've been a self-projected projector since 2020. I've known what that's meant since 2020. And every year I hone that superpower just a little bit more. And this year, what has come, and I say year, it's not even a year, I am constantly honing that superpower. You know, I'm constantly realigning, I'm constantly honing it, harnessing it, you know. And last week it came through, it kind of came through in a different way. And that was to say that if my voice is my superpower, why am I scripting? Why am I journaling when I should be speaking? So I have started to change some of my practices up this week into speaking practices. So as I just said, journaling and scripting. So this is in effect my journal. And maybe I need to hone this skill a little bit more. You know, maybe I need to come to this video with something a little bit more. I feel like I need a doorway, an entryway into this. So when I'm journaling on kind of like who I am every day, or when I'm journaling, you know, I used to have a little bit of an opener, and it used to be like, it used to almost set my pen off, and then my pen would just start spewing all this stuff onto a piece of paper. Well, what I want to do is I want to say that opener, and I want my voice to spew the stuff on a piece of paper. So that means doing like little recordings here and there. So what I've done is I have set up some Instagram grids where I'm going to do a reel every day, just a short reel. Who am I in myself today? What do I know about myself today? What do I know about my health today? And what do I know about my wealth today? Those are the three areas that I'm going to focus. There are other areas, but they're the three main areas that I want to focus on. You know, what do I know about this today? Because every day we change. You know, every day we go through new experiences, new learnings, we feel different things about different things, and we change and we become somebody. We're you know, there's a quote, and I think it says something like, if you knew me yesterday, you don't know me today. And that's absolutely true for me, especially for me, because I am constantly flowing, growing, moving. I am not the same person today as I was yesterday. I never am. Now, some people don't notice that change, but ultimately you're probably in the same boat. You know, you probably are, because it is just the way it is. I don't even know what I'm talking about today. I hope this is kind of going to end up being useful, because right now it doesn't feel very useful. Anyway, so I started using my voice more. So the voice is really powerful, and that's why, yes, I'm a self-projected projector, and I talk about that a lot. And I find my truth when I speak. But even if you are an emotional generator, your voice is still very, very important. And obviously we have to look at whether you are an open center or a closed center. Is it your voice or is it not your voice? You know, because if you are an open center, then obviously you're absorbing the things that other people want to speak, I think. Again, not one of those I've necessarily looked into. I've dug deep on the centers that have been impacted in charts that I've helped others understand, and I have obviously my own. So an undefined throat centre hasn't come up for me very often, actually, which is interesting. Maybe in the early days, you know, like years and years ago. Anyway, centre defined, centre undefined, all that kind of stuff. Your voice is the way of turning your inner energy into an outer vibration. And that is a really key piece. Movement is a way of turning an inner frequency into an outer vibration. Speaking. Those are the only ways that we can turn what's inside of us into an outer frequency. You know, your eyes don't do it, nose doesn't do it, they're all taking stuff in. The only ways that we can push an energy out is the way we speak or actually moving. So to get like a dream, a goal, a future desire, current desire, an understanding of who you are right now, you know, using that voice is really key. And like I say, not just for me as a self-projector, but for me as a self-projector, it is my superpower. I'm honestly like sat here now, my brain's going, this video's pointless, you're not really teaching anybody anything. And there's part of me that's going, these videos aren't here to teach anybody anything. These videos are here for me to find my direction for the day. To find my direction, to find what's going on for me. So, what's going on for me today? I've got real focus coming in at the moment about my heart, about heart health. I am 50, nearly, 4 months away. So I'm nearly 50. I was put into surgical menopause 8 years ago. I'm overweight. I don't move very much. All these things actually contribute to factors that kind of contribute, lifestyle factors that contribute to high blood pressure. I potentially have it running in my family. So I potentially have it from a genetic perspective too. So my dad is currently undergoing some surgery linked to heart and blood vessel health and all that kind of stuff. And so my head is really in that place at the moment. And it's interesting for me because, you see, it started rolling now. The thoughts are all starting to come through now. So it's interesting for me because I've been trying to go in the gym. I've been trying to build that movement up, trying to get that going, trying to get that shifting, trying to get it happening. And I feel like I do one day and then I don't do it. And oftentimes when we do that, we think that there's something wrong with us. We haven't got any willpower. You know, there's something, you know, I'm just crap. You know, that's the place that we go to oftentimes when, you know, we're trying to do something like that. And for some reason, we just can't stick to it. I generally find that when I am in that position, if I really want to do something, and for some reason I can't do it, there's a reason why I can't do it. And so considering that I really wanted to start in the gym and I've had umpteen failed attempts in the last few months, then what is the thing that's stopping me? And I think it's this heart thing, because I do have high levels of blood pressure. I mean, I'm at the low end of high, if that makes sense. But, you know, we're tipping into that. And if I just start smashing it at the gym, right now, what impact is that going to have on my heart? Now, yes, there's cardiovascular function that, you know, we need to train that cardiovascular function. But there's a piece of me last week when I was leaning into this. What actually happened was Sunday afternoon, I'm going to use the word overstimulated because it's the only way that I can easily explain it. But what basically happened was we went off for a walk, we had our breakfast, and then I was I was trying to listen to Diary of a CEO and my brain was saying no. So I tried to put on some music. My brain was saying no. There was no way I was watching TV. There was just, I couldn't take on any more information. And that to me is a signal. And it's a signal that I need to go inwards. I need to listen to myself. I need to quiet. And for me in that moment, I go lay down. So the projector, being horizontal is also a bit of a superpower. So laying down, I put on some theta frequency in my ears, and I went to the theta state in my brain. So the theta state is kind of like half asleep, dozing. Obviously I've got the frequency, so my brain's tuning to the frequency. And while I was in that state, so much stuff started coming through. So much stuff. So I understood the different phases I've been through in my life from my body. So back in the day, so if we say in the last 25 years, so back in the day, right at the start of that kind of 25 years, I would have said that I was into a bodybuilding lifestyle. My vibe was, how can I sculpt this body? How can I sculpt this body to look the way I want it to look? And it was that. That's what it was all about for me back then. And then I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So then it turned into, how can I keep this body alive? That was the focus. How do I keep this body alive? And then that focus turned into, how do I heal? How do I trust this body again? And that's where I went for the next phase. And then I went through a phase of biohacking. How does the body work? How does the body work when I want it to work as optimal as possible? How does that work? And I know I'm not in that phase anymore. That's shifted again. And now I'm in, how do I live in partnership with my body? That's where I'm at right now. How do I live in partnership with my body? It's different. It's not about biohacking. It's about understanding how to create an environment that my body thrives in. It's not about sitting with high blood pressure. It's about understanding how my hair just flops nowadays. How I support my body to get my blood pressure where it needs to be, for now and for the rest of my life. I've got blood pressure issues, I've got problems with my hips and my joints. Where am I going to be at 60 if I don't take care of this stuff now? That's where I'm at right now. And how do I do it in a way that is supportive of my body, rather than, something that kicks my body's ass, which a lot of medical stuff kind of does. You get any kind of tablet from the doctors and there's umpteen side effects, so not only is it helping this area, but it's also kicking the ass in this area. So there was all sorts of stuff that came through, herbs, seasonal foods. There was all sorts of stuff that came through. So there's definitely a health journey that is beginning and starting, a strong one. But during that kind of like half asleep zone, the words ease into it, make it easy, ease, started coming through. Is it easy for me now to try and run a 5K? No. Is it easy for me to walk steadily for 5K? Maybe. Is it easy for me to get on the rebounders? Rebounders have so much kind of good stuff for you. Is it easy for me to get on the rebounders? Yeah. Is it easy for me to get up and do the weight training that I want to do right now? No. But is it easy for me to get up and do one set? Maybe. So how do I make this week easy? Now, also, the other thing that's coming through is sometimes training and stuff can really kind of increase cortisol. and adrenaline, obviously, and it can impact your nervous system. And there's something in me telling me that this week is about nervous system. It's about focusing on feeling safe. It's about focusing on making my body feel safe, which is interesting because I go back 2 or 3 weeks and I was talking about this with a friend, about the ways that you need to make your body feel safe, because if your body never feels safe, it's constantly releasing that cortisol and those stress hormones. Interesting. And it's also interesting because we were in the gate of provocation. I am going to have to tie my hair up. It feels horrible today. We're in the gate of provocation. And the gate of provocation over the last 6 days we've been in the gate of provocation. And the gate of provocation is provoking action. And it's not necessarily a, slap around the face. It can be, I suppose, but it's not necessarily slap around the face. Sometimes it's little small things that come together that provoke an action, or provoke you to wake up to something that you're doing that isn't aligned and, that you need to correct. Interesting. So, my brain's coming in again telling me that this video is rubbish. And I'm telling my brain again, this video isn't rubbish. But I don't know if I've found my direction. I don't know if that's why it's feeling like it's rubbish. Because ultimately what I've done is I've caught you up on what's already happened. So there's been no new direction. Is that why this feels rubbish? If I'd have uncovered a new direction through this video, I bet it wouldn't feel interesting. I do feel like I've got no more words. Is there anything else that I want to say? Nope. I've got no more words. There's no more words coming through. I do feel like there's something there. Nervous system, cortisol, heart. What am I processing today? What's on my mind today? What am I feeling today? Nothing coming through. In that case, I will leave it there. See you next time.